One Piece, Ima controlled 20 kingdoms. What happened 800 years ago was probably Im who controlled the rulers of 20 kingdoms to then attack the ancient kingdom. What happened 800 years ago where a large kingdom with advanced and sophisticated technology could be destroyed by 20 kingdom alliances is still one of the big mysteries in the One Piece story. Many fans speculate that Im is the figure behind all of this. Ima the sole ruler. In the previous article, there was a discussion about how Ima could become the ruler of the One Piece world. He has Gorosei with very powerful powers, and holy knights who can destroy a region in an instant. Even so, fans are still curious about what power Ima actually has so that he can become the ruler of the world. As Luffy fans know so far that Ima-sama is the leader of the world government, which is the ruling organization in the One Piece world. Im's figure is even more powerful than Gorosei. The Gorosei, who many people think are world leaders, are actually subordinates of Imu. All orders from Ima must be carried out immediately and all major decisions must be in accordance with Imu approval. Unfortunately, Oda-sensei himself has not revealed much information about Imu, including how he came to power. Apart from Imu, there is no other leader who has power in the One Piece world, aka Imu is the sole ruler. For 800 years, it has been shown that no one else has been able to shift his position as ruler. Many fans themselves are curious about how he became the world leader. From what we know so far, the world government was formed 800 years ago, at which time a great war occurred that destroyed the world. The war took place between the Ancient Kingdom, or the Ancient Kingdom whose name is still mysterious, with an alliance of 20 kingdoms. The Ancient Kingdom lost the battle, and finally the world government was formed. Again, it remains a question of how a kingdom with a very advanced civilization and sophisticated technology could then lose to an alliance of 20 kingdoms. The most logical logic is that they were outnumbered, where even though their technology was very advanced, the kingdom was overwhelmed by it. However, there could also be other reasons that have not been revealed. On the other hand, it is also possible that they must be destroyed and defeated according to the prophecy in the ancient Harley text before later, in the Third World, we will achieve victory. One thing is clear is that Im is currently the only ruler in the world who moves in the shadows. However, if geeks realize how Im became the only one who survived for 800 years and where the other leaders are. In yesterday's chapter 1060, Sabo admitted to Dragon that he accidentally saw the figure of Imu in the Pangaea Palace. He admitted that he did not believe that there was a world ruler figure who occupied the empty throne in the world government. According to the explanation of Nefertari Cobra, who at that time tried to meet the Gorosei when the world government organization was formed, all the kingdom alliances agreed that no one should be in power or on the empty throne available. This was deliberately done to avoid any of them who later became a dictator or an unfair figure towards other kingdoms and the residents. However, Nefertari Cobra himself was then surprised when a mysterious person appeared and sat on the empty throne. The figure was none other than Imu. Then, in chapter 1085, Cobra actually admitted that he had heard of him. But, unfortunately, before Cobra could explain who Im really was, he immediately received a fatal attack that almost took his life. If Luffy fans also notice that on the throne occupied by Im-sama there is actually something very interesting. Around the throne there are many traces of weapons stuck. We still don't know whose weapons are actually there. However, there is a possibility that they are weapons from the former rulers of the other 20 kingdoms that formed the world government. I can control people. For now, there are indeed three big questions that then arise related to Im. The first is how far is Im's power and what is Im's power so that he can become a ruler and destroy the ancient kingdom. The second is what then becomes the reason Im and the alliance of 20 kingdoms decided to attack the ancient kingdom. Are they a threat, or is there another reason? The third is how Imu was then able to convince the other kingdom leaders to join him and form an alliance to destroy the ancient kingdom. Regarding his own strength, there are actually many theories that have developed among fans where fans try to provide an explanation of how Imu could become a very powerful figure. Many fans believe that Im has a very powerful devil fruit power. Then, there are also fans who believe that Im is a very terrible devil figure where he has the ability to give or lend his power to other parties such as the Holy Knight or Gorosei. This is even supported by the devil-like tail that killed Nefertari Cobra. However, a hint of Im's own power appears in chapter 1149. The story shows how one of the Holy Knights, Gunko, attacks Brook and the others. Brook himself seems to know who Gunko really is, and it is only in this chapter that it is finally revealed that Brook does know who Gunko is. She's a girl Brook knew before he became a pirate. There is an interesting detail that then appears where Gunko himself then wakes up and tries to save Brook. In this case, it is revealed that Gunko is actually a figure controlled by Imu. This also provides confirmation about who Gunko is, where he is likely a figure who is decades old or even hundreds of years old. Then, the interesting fact is that Gunko himself is likely a child who was a victim of war. In this case, Gunko could be similar to Bonnie, where she is Jinny's child who was forcibly married by a sky dragon and then became a test subject for various things from the Gorosei. This information is shown in the last part of chapter 1149. Then, another interesting thing is that in the last panel it is shown how Gunko regains consciousness and he regains his memory. He remembers who Brook is and tries to save Brook. Even so, suddenly he experiences a very significant change in attitude. His face changes to be very scary as described by the children, as revealed by Saint Killingham that the figure is Umsama. In the panel, it is shown how Imu is able to control others according to what he wants. He is able to control others freely. We still have not seen further about this, where in this case we still have not seen what Gunko's power is like when controlled by Imu and various other things. However, one thing is for sure, this is really very extraordinary. The big question then is, how can Im control others? One speculation that is rife among fans is that Im is indeed a demon. In this case, he has the ability to transfer or give power to others as shown by the Holy Knights and also the Gorosei in some of their fights. However, whether Im can control everyone or there are special criteria for being able to be controlled by Im is still unknown. Even so, if Luffy fans notice that Gunko has a unique condition, where both of his eyes have two different eyeballs. One eyeball is normal, but the other eyeball has a thread or has the same eyeball as Im. Does that mean that those who can be controlled by Im are figures who have special characteristics in their eyes? It could be. So far, there are only a few characters known to have these spiral eyeballs, namely Umsama, Gunko, and Dracula Mihawk. One animal that has similar eyes is Zanesha, the giant elephant who was sentenced to roam the ocean for thousands of years. We have seen Gunko being able to be controlled by Im, which gives another hint that Im is a very scary figure with a very powerful level of power. However, does this also mean that other characters can be controlled by Im? It seems unlikely that Mihawk can be controlled by Im because of this, although it is not impossible. What about Zanesha? In the story, it is explained that Zanesha must be punished for the crimes or mistakes he has committed. The punishment itself is that he must travel around the Grand Line for thousands of years while carrying the Mink tribe. However, until now, what then became the mistake or crime committed by Zanesha so that he had to be punished is still a mystery. Is it because Zanesha can be controlled by him? Zanesha herself admitted that she had indeed made a mistake and apologized to Joy Boy. Then, if we look at Joy Boy's other colleagues like Emoth, we can see how Emoth's eyes are different and do not have threads. Apart from that, of course, we still have to wait for official information from Eiichiro Oda regarding this. Then, another interesting thing about Im's power to control people is how he possibly used his power to get rid of the other kingdom leaders, one of whom was Nefertari Lily. As explained above, the leaders of the other kingdoms are unknown, which raises the possibility that they are all probably dead. Also, as mentioned by Nefertari Cobra, that no one from the 20 kingdom alliances should sit on the main throne. This is to prevent any figure or party from abusing their power. But in reality, Im became the sole leader, which certainly raises big questions about what really happened to these rulers. With that power, Im could logically use that power to control the rulers to kill each other. It could also be that there were leaders from other kingdoms controlled by Im to then incite the other party. They then became suspicious of each other and killed each other. Most likely this is the reason why Nefertari Lily disappeared and also said to spread the poneglyph so that the next generation could know about what happened. Arigatou gozaimasu. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thanks a lot. Luffy lovers.